Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people everywhere. Welcome to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. We're going to run our intro and we'll be right back. All right, guys, we are back. And tonight we have a special, I don't know if she's a guest. We're going to try to make her a semi-permanent fixture. We're going to introduce herself.
I'm Tiffany. Mostly go by Tip, but Tiffany.
All right. We have the wonderful Mrs.
I am Shanetta. Glad to be back.
Yes, be back is what we are, because we have been gone for a few weeks between the holidays and all the other stuff. We took a little break. Hey, Lisa, thanks for coming in and thanks for sharing. All right, ladies. So we are gonna jump right in. So the topic is coming into your own as a woman, and I'm sure for each of us that means something different, and the experience was probably very, very different. So just tell me, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you got that topic? What was the first thing that came to mind?
With me, I had to Google it, to be honest. I'm like, come on, what? Like, as in who? As in what? What are we talking about? But, coming into, I guess, the knowledge of who you are, like, as a person, as a woman, period.
Okay. And Shanetta, what was the first thing that came to mind?
Just growing up and coming of age and kind of that moment where you realize that, man, I'm out here adulting and I don't really have a choice but to keep doing this adulting thing and not be a kid anymore. It's kind of like a wake up moment where you're just kind of like, whoa, this is all about me now, huh? So yeah, I think that's kind of what came to mind initially for me when I got the title. I was like, okay, we're just gonna put it all out there tonight. All right, let's talk about it.
Right. And that was the thing, that moment, like, so do you remember that moment where you felt like, all right, this is it. No more kid, like, not just I'm grown, because like everybody feel like once they're 18, they're grown.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times at 18, you whatever you're gonna do, go to college, move out, whatever, you feel grown. But like, do you remember that moment when you was like, wow, I'm a whole woman out here in these streets?
For me, I absolutely remember that moment. It was for me, probably earlier than most girls, or just in general, because I had some just unusual circumstances. But I was 18 and me and my college roommate were trying to get an apartment. Now she had somewhere to go.
Okay.
I had nowhere to go. So I needed to get approved for this apartment and to get this apartment. And the moment that we had to kind of convince them, because they were going to deny our application, and we had to go back and talk to them about it. And I had to sit and pretty much work to convince them that they could give me this apartment. Like I could do this. In that moment, I had, I want to say 3 jobs, and I was full-time in college. So it was like a whole lot of interesting things happening in that moment. And I'm like, clearly I can afford it. Like I have 3 whole jobs. They weren't all full-time jobs, but one was full-time and then I had like 2 part-time jobs. So in that moment when they told me, okay, well, we'll go ahead and approve your application. And I realized I'm about to have real life bills, and I already had the job. I was already kind of doing things and like making things happen for myself. But in that moment, I was just like, I'm about to be a real like whole grown up out here. I got bills to pay. And I knew that, you have to call the light company and all that kind of stuff and get all the utilities turned on. But I think I sat there and I was like, I felt myself for a moment, and it was kind of like, girl, look at you. First of all, you convinced these people to give you an apartment. Second of all, you about to have a whole apartment. But after that, it was just kind of like, oh, girl, you about to have a whole apartment, and you got to be a real, like, you don't have a choice but go to these jobs because you got bills to pay now, like for real bills. So that was a kind of like a life-changing moment for me.
Wow. Okay. And Tiff, do you remember your moment? Have you had your moment? Do you feel like you've had that moment? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just saying, no, I'm just saying, sometimes you haven't found that like aha, like, that moment yet.
Oh no, aha hit me. It happened. No, but my first like real experience was going to the doctor without my mom. It's like, oh, I got to tell them what's wrong with me. Because like before, it's like, oh, what kind of pain is she having? And I'm like, what kind of pain am I having? Like I could depend on her to tell me or make these appointments. And then when I had to go in there by myself and just kind of adult and tell them and verbalize what's going on, because like younger, I wasn't really good at communicating. So it's like, now I gotta talk to people. Like, why? But like stuff like that became my moment. It's like, oh, I gotta do this by myself. And then when I got my first set of bills and stuff, I'm like, oh, these every month. This is a monthly thing. Y'all do every other. Like, how often do these go on sale? Like, is it a Black Friday bill or something? Like, oh, you get none of that. Just keep coming. But it's like when you realize you got to get it. Like, you can't just up and quit a job today and be like, I don't need this. No, them bills and situation and, oh, you need it. Like, when you realize you can't just make rash decisions on a whim anymore.
Definitely. I need you to call my daughter though and have that whole like going to that doctor's appointment by yourself. Stop texting me. You are too old for this. You should know that.
Like once they say you 18, oh, don't call your mama now. Like you tell me what's up. Even when it come to college, when I went to college, oh my God. And they were like, you just got to get out of my class. Like I was just talking to somebody or doing something, like, you gotta leave. And they wasn't having none of that. I'm gonna call your mama, you can come back. No, just get out. This is a waste of your money. So just out my class. And I'm like, what do you mean? Say, no, you paying for college now. So it's not like I could just keep coming type thing. Yeah. Got kicked out of that man class. And I had to beg him to let me back in.
Wow.
Okay. I'll say, I don't know if like I had an actual moment, like I'm the oldest. So in some ways I grew up a lot faster than a lot of other people. As soon as it was legal age to get a job in New York, which used to be 16. I don't know, I'm old now. It might have changed. Like I had a job and I had responsibilities. So like, I don't know, I may have missed my moment because, like I was always used to being the responsible one. and taking care of somebody or something. So I don't know that I actually realized like this is the moment where I'm like a woman. I mean, I've just always been I'm the take care of a person. When somebody needs something, like I've always been that call. Like, if they're like, oh, you need a lifeline, like I'm the lifeline, so that's kind of always been my role. So I don't know if I ever really realized that moment. I'll say early on, like now, as weird as it is, like once I got over 40, um, and different things occurred, and it caused me to see things differently and really stand in my whole Samantha-ness. Like I recognized it more now, when I could just stand and be like, okay, this is who I am. Right, wrong, like it, don't, too bad for you. So like now that I'm over 40, I recognize it more as just being my own person. Like kind of that's what I think about when I think about that. Like not trying to be what I see in other people. Not going with the fad. Like in high school, you want to, oh, everybody's wearing this. Ma, I need this. Everybody's doing this. Oh, I need to go there. You have that kind of thing going. And sometimes that carries on for a long time, in people's lives. And I'll say for me, like, I didn't really have an opportunity to follow too many fads. Like I was helping take care of stuff. So I didn't have, those opportunities. But now I'm kind of like, this is me. Like, is it this what you get? Like you can take it how you want it or leave it. But like this is me. And so like now I recognize just the strength and the power it is and just standing in who I am and not trying to fit, squeeze, bend, shimmy into a space that's not for me.
Right. More of being your authentic self, like you're able to kind of just be who you are. Do you think that there are levels to coming into your own and kind of just figuring out that womanhood?
I think sometimes, like we almost grow up too fast. Like if you have a baby at 16, it's kind of, you don't really get that moment. You know what I mean? Because now you went straight from being a kid to taking care of somebody else. So I feel like if you've always had responsibility, I feel like it's harder to come into your own because you're always being what somebody else needs you to be.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you it's hard for you to figure out kind of just who you want to be because there's always somebody else. And then I feel like at different stages, because once you become a wife, it's kind of like you kind of got to come into your own as somebody's wife. And, then the woman part still gets pushed back.
Right.
You figure it out. Now you're coming into your own as a mother.
Yeah.
It works for you. And then the woman part gets pushed to the back. So I think sometimes we just take on so many roles that just being a woman is kind of like, you're a woman, but you don't really think about it. Hey, Richard, thanks for joining us. Yeah, so.
I think it's like sometimes our experiences causes us to mature and level up. Things that take place in your life, things that, happen. And if you allow it, it can grow you. Because sometimes situations can either teach you or break you.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to say, okay, I've seen this before. So next time it come around, I know what to do. So you mature to that next level. So when you get to another obstacle, it's like, yeah, this sucks, but it ain't as bad as it could be because I remember from past experiences. Like you said, situations will make you mature faster sometimes. It will cause you to have a different outlook on life. I mean, like a prime example, when I was working at the daycare like a couple years ago, and at the time I didn't have a car, so I used to walk from the daycare to the store for lunch breaks and all that good stuff. So like one day I'm just walking down the street, and it's in the hood, mind you. I'm walking down the street, got my earphones in, just carefree.
In the hood.
In the hood, like that's all I was thinking about.
Other things to talk about on that.
Wasn't thinking about none of it. And then, like, of course, somebody came up, snatched my purse. And I'm sitting here like, now I know good well this didn't just happen. Like, but it got straight robbed right there. And to this day, I'm very particular about my space, my surroundings. It's nothing that I don't see. It's like I'm peeping everything. Come in the room and I'm looking at who all got on what. Like, okay, who is this? Who is that? I ain't never seen them before. Who is this? You know, I'm more like alert to my surroundings and stuff because of that situation. It caused me to be more alert, more vigilant.
Yeah.
So,
All right, let's see. Richard says, is it better to mature at the right pace rather than too fast? I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way to mature. It's kind of hard to say. Like some people feel like, oh, I had to grow up too fast and like they missed something. I think it's all about your state of mind and how you see it. Like for me, I feel like I grew up too fast. I mean, when I think about some of the things people were doing at my age when I was going to work, I feel like I didn't miss nothing. You know what I mean? Like some of the extra, a lot of my friends got pregnant in high school. I didn't miss nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so some of the things that people got into, I had friends that got arrested in high school, that got caught the wrong place, wrong time. So like some of it, I feel like maturing early worked out really well for me. So I guess it's kind of all about your perspective, Richard. That's what I would say is perspective of how you look at it. I feel like I didn't really miss much. When they was hanging out and at the club and, drinking 40s and, I don't feel like I missed anything. But I guess it's perspective. For some people, they may feel differently.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so somebody snatched your pocketbook and got away, like he just kept going. He didn't stop. He didn't.
And the thing was, right, it was plenty of people out there. At the time, it was full of people out there.
You were the prime target with those headphones in your ear, just walking around like you was somewhere in the suburbs.
I mean, I was just gone too, because, I'm walking. I need me something to keep the pace. Like, and then, of course, when the police pulled up, not one person around. I said, you know what? Okay, say, but I can understand why nobody would be around because this is where they live, and they go and say something, or they say they seen something. They were already doing their own illegal activities, so it's like
they want no parts of that.
Yeah, it was snatch and grab. Like, well, okay, have fun with $20. I mean, that was going to be lunch money, so of course I was upset. But hey.
Wow. Okay, so Shanetta, you grew up in what state?
Me?
Yeah.
All of them? Okay, so I was born in Michigan. We moved to Georgia a few times and moved back to Michigan a few times. I lived in Germany for a brief period.
Okay, where did you go to high school?
High school?
Yeah.
I started high school in Michigan and finished in Georgia.
Oh.
I did 3 years in Georgia. So I did 1 year in Michigan in high school. And then I came here in 10th grade, back here again in 10th grade. And I've been here ever since. I refused to leave after that. So, yeah.
Okay, so living in Michigan and then living in Georgia, do you think there was a distinct difference just in what you saw as the definition of a woman?
Yes. So I would have to say that and when I say a woman, like I feel like there are different roles that different women choose to take on, and every role is not for every woman. Let me kind of start there.
Okay.
But I think that what I saw growing up, especially in Michigan, was women that had to work, women that needed to work to take care of their families. Oftentimes probably single, so they really didn't have choices. They had, you either work or you don't eat, pretty much those are your options. So I saw women in different types of roles where they had to be outside of the home. I don't really think I comprehended or understood the concept of being a stay-at-home wife or mom until moving south and seeing that there were people who, like, they were in these marriage situations and they didn't go out of the house to work. Like, what do you do all day? um, just trying to figure out, well, what does that look like? And then I became one later, and I was like, I know what that looks like. Let me tell you, and it ain't easy. But I don't really recall seeing a whole lot of that as a younger child in Michigan. Like everybody worked, it seemed like. And if you didn't work, then you were probably, getting some type of assistance, but like, I mean, you probably didn't have much either, like, with that same, token. So seeing the different roles, seeing women that kind of like prepare these massive Sunday dinners or, these massive meals was just kind of like, so you do this every week, couple times a week. Oh, okay. Y'all don't eat microwave food? Like y'all don't get the little and put it in the yeah, that's not what okay. So like kind of seeing that and seeing, different people that do like all these different things, that for me was just kind of like eye-opening. And it was like, oh wow. Like, so talking to friends at school, like, so your mom like cooks. Like she like really like cooks whole meals. Like y'all don't order it or y'all don't like, go pick it up on the way home. No? Oh, your mom every night your mom cooks dinner for y'all? Like, just trying to figure that out was like, wow. Or going into a friend's house and like it was just kind of, very different from your own as far as how things were set up and how things were done was just kind of like, oh wow. So I learned there was a different way of living, I think, when we moved south. And it just kind of, it gave me more options and more things to look at.
So Tiff, I know you're a Georgia native, so your question is gonna be a little different. So like I know growing up, you watch people and you see things and you think, you define things one way. And then as you become older, sometimes you're like, no, what I saw wasn't what I thought, or this isn't what I thought it was gonna be. Have you had has that been your experience? Like growing up, you thought, being a woman was one thing. And then as the older you got, you saw it differently? Or have you always had a pretty good grasp on, what being a woman was? Or
personally, I've had a lot of like aunts and other women in my life, not just Southern women, as they call it, but I've had all women from different walks of life that has poured into me in one way or another to show me, okay, some women, like she said, stay at home. Some women couldn't stay at home if you paid them to stay at the house. Like they have to get out and they have to do something. You have those that are homemakers and you have those where, okay, my husband gonna have to do the cooking and cleaning and stuff because I don't do that. So it's been a mixture, I want to say, of how things are done. And a lot of women I've seen as far as like taking care of the house and this, that, and the third. It's like some of the things that they did back then, you can still take from it, but not the whole thing. Like, okay, if say, okay, a good example, both of my grandmothers told us that if your husband is working late, working overnight, whatever, make sure he has a plate or something put aside for when he get home. And I'm not gonna wake up and heat it up and all that good stuff. No, I probably will not. But it's like instruction is on the microwave. It's there, you know. But that was one of their things. Like, okay, he's out making sure that our family is taken care of. So on my end, I'm gonna make sure he's taken care of. So it's like take parts from different aspects of women and kind of mesh to what fits, you know. You could learn a little about a lot and kind of put it into one and make up who you are.
Mhm.
Okay. Richard said microwave food too easy for the lazy. You should always cook if you got time. Who you calling lazy, Richard? Um, that's a good point, though, Tiffany. What you said, like, yeah, I think I'll say all the time, I'm very old fashioned. Like, I really feel that way, especially when I look at people now. I'm really old fashioned when it comes to different stuff. I remember when I first had started dating Anthony and going like over to his mom's house. Like, we would go to the house and she would always have like this plate on the stove. She leave on the stove for him because he'd be out later. She leave it on the stove with a little piece of saran wrap on it. And I promise it'd be like the littlest amount of food. So like the first time I saw it, I was like, y'all got kids in the house? Like, whose plate is this? And he was like, oh, my mother left me dinner. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, he doesn't really eat nothing. That's so cute. Like this little plate. And then somehow, when we got together, he started eating like a vacuum. So I'm thinking I could put this little plate, like, leave it for him, this little plate, like his mom used to leave. And that didn't really quite work out.
Real
starving.
I never realized.
He had no choice.
Well, he was eating, like we'd eat out, and then he'd still go home and eat the little bit of plate. But I never really put two and two together. I'm just thinking, you eating this little bit of food. But yeah, that whole, and I was really surprised that she left food for him. Like, I know you leave food out, for your husband, you leave a plate or whatever, but she left him a plate and like different stuff she used to do, and I was like, oh, okay, that's good for your son. It's different. But like, and I thought, like, I thought getting married, I don't know if I want to be doing all that stuff. But then I got married, and like, I don't know, it was like suddenly a switch just kind of, went. And before I knew it, I felt like I was taking care of him. You know what I mean? Like stuff that growing up, I'm like, I ain't never gonna be taking care of no man. He can wash his own drawers, and you be thinking all that stuff. And then as I got older, before I know it, little and more, like
you're just doing those things.
Yeah, and I was like, "Why? I feel like I do everything for you." Yeah, so things that I never really thought that I would do. Like, I never thought that I would be that woman, like that big, homemaker. Like, Chanel, you see, when I cook, I just go like way over the top. And I hated cooking as a teenager. And I think maybe because I was forced to do it, like I had to cook for my siblings, or my mother saying, oh, you better go in there and make dinner. Like I hated it. But like now, it's like one of my favorite rooms in the house. Put me in a good kitchen, girl, with some pots, and I am happy. Like, I am truly happy. And I just think it's so amazing how over time, you grow and you adapt to things, and you don't even realize sometimes that changes, are taking place.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really interesting. And I guess men have the same thing, but since we women, as a woman, it's just, like it's like that innate nurturing part of you kind of kicks in, and you almost become like mother hen everywhere you go. And I think that's kind of cool. Like I think God made us extra special. I mean, men are all right. But I'm saying, like women, I mean, think about it. Like we literally
we adapt.
Yeah, like we
adapt.
nurture from from the time it's in there, we nurture it, and then it come out and we create little humans. Like, and I wonder sometimes, if women really stop and think about the power and the strength that you possess as a woman.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever kind of just think about that, like as a woman, the strength and the power that you possess? Like,
I think for me, I've had moments where I've kind of, thought about it and thought about the abilities that I guess God has graced women with, and it's just like, wow. I think it's definitely like kind of like ever present in your mind, like after that moment of like giving birth or something like that, and you're like, that's a whole person. Like you're looking at the baby like I literally carried and nurtured that child, and now it's here. Like, and I have to take it home and figure out what to do with it now at home. Probably more so after that first one, because you're just kind of like, so what am I supposed to do now? Like take it home? And then what? Those moments. And then you realize just the things that our bodies were created to do, from nursing, from carrying and nurturing the baby, to now nursing and providing nutrition for the baby, to, just that feeling like you can just be sitting and just as a mom, have a moment where you're just kind of like, something isn't right. Immediately get up, go check on your kid, and something isn't right, and it's just that feeling that you kind of get just deep in your gut, and you just kind of have it.
Like, I mean, I don't know nothing about that. Girl,
just that gut feeling that you just have, where you can know just in an instant or in a moment that even if it's just something emotional, and it's not necessarily something physical, or like they fell or anything like that, but just that emotional, they might be in turmoil in that moment, and then you just have that feeling like, I need to call my baby, I need to do this, I need to do that. And I mean, and then they just pour out, in that moment, and you're just like, I'm glad, I felt that. And then as you continue to even just grow as a woman in general, even without kids, I think that you have moments like that where you just kind of have this intuition that's just natural, that we just naturally have, that it kind of puts us in tune with things just a little bit differently, whether it's with, your friend or your sister or your mother, or just anybody that you care about, where you're just naturally in tune with things in a different kind of way. And when you begin to realize that that's within you, and that God placed that there within who you are and who you were made to be, I think that it's just kind of like, it's pretty amazing to like just have that moment, and to be able to say, I can tune into some things just in a different kind of way because of who I am. So yeah.
All right now. Tune into it. Okay.
I think about it, and I think about that a lot when I see like some of these people on TV, and some of the things people do, and some of the stuff they say, and just some of the way, some of the decisions that people make. And I'm like, if you really understood the power and the strength you possess, like, would you make different decisions? Like, if you really understood who you were, like, would you make different decisions? Like, I think about, women, even from the time of slavery, yeah, the men were beat or whatever, but the women, we were beat. Then we were forced to raise their children. Sometimes we were forced to have their children, and we took care of their families, and then came back and nursed our own families. And the strength that women possess, and then still work the fields all day, just like the men. And had your body didn't belong, to your own self. To fast forward to a couple of decades later, and then all the men went off to war, and now women that were homemakers, it was like the ball is in y'all court. We got up and we went out and we got jobs and kept the world turning while the men were off doing this. And then the men came back and was like, oh, you out of place. Just push you to the side. Like, I think about all the different times in history where women have been kind of pushed to the side and not appreciated for the things that we bring to the table or the things that we possess. And I think in some way we've gotten used to those spaces. Like we've almost forgotten the power that we possess ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like, oh, I'm just as good as a man. Like, not that kind of thing. Because you see that a lot too. I could do what a man do. And, like, as a woman, I don't want to do what a man do. Whatever that is.
Yeah.
You have that. Like I'm not trying to be a better man, than you. Like, I think sometimes, we get so lopsided with with our approach sometimes, and I get so puzzled. But I look at people like, don't you see it? Don't you, just the strength that's in a woman. I wish sometimes, how like you see people, sometimes I wish I could just hug somebody and they could feel it, just feel it and be like, wow, you know what, I can do better. Like I can be better, or I am already better. Like, I just have to realize it. And I know all of our conversations always turn to the community because we want we want the things we say and the way we live to make our communities better. So I guess like as a final question, like, so how, being a woman, 100% fully aware of who you are and the power you possess, how can you use that to impact your community? And your community is whatever you want to call it. It could be your family, it could be your neighbors, it could be your church. Like, how does that translate into your community?
Well, personally, I think if I invest in me and who I am and take the time to cultivate what's inside of me, then I can be better for others.
Okay.
Like, I can't pour into someone else's life if I'm empty.
Right.
I mean, you can't pour into a cup what you don't have. And that's why I think things like mental health days are important. Self-care days, being able to step away from it all to refresh, get your mind right. Life is moving at 100 miles an hour, but you have to take time to step away, bring it all together. Like, okay, how can I be the best me? Let me learn more. Let me research more. Let me look into things that I'm passionate about. Like for myself, I'm passionate about, battered women and children.
Okay.
I've never been in that situation. I know of women that have been. So it's like I glean from what I know from them to try to see, okay, how could I help this person? Because like I do have a soft spot for them because like I'm a female. I wouldn't want to see, say if I was in that situation, I wouldn't want my kids to see me being better. I don't want to see us being misplaced or I have to put my kids in the system because of my situation and everything. So the more you learn and research what you're passionate about, the more you can project it to others with that same passion.
Okay.
I would definitely agree with Tiffany on that. That was, I think, beautifully stated because honestly, you can't be any good, like she said, for anybody else if you don't first make sure that you're okay and take care of yourself. I think in order to contribute to any type of community, whatever that community may be, that you have to also realize what your gift is and realize what your lane is. Because a lot of times what happens is we're trying to be like somebody else. We're trying to do the things that somebody else told us to do because they were like, oh, you're really good at this. You should do this. And then you just start doing that and you stick with it. And before you know it, you don't even understand how you got there or how you even began a certain journey. And that's not even your journey to take. You're on somebody else's road going the wrong way. That's not where you should be. So you have to figure out where you're supposed to be. What is your gifting? What is your talent? What is it that you're good at in order to contribute well to any type of community? And I think that that's a journey sometimes within itself. That's a part of coming into your own as a woman, figuring out who you are and what you should be doing with the life that you have. And it takes experiences to figure that out. So sometimes you do have to try things. If you just don't like wake up one morning and like, I know that this is where I'm supposed to be and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. You might have to try out so many different things before you realize this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. So once you figure that part out, I think that you can then be a member of society or a member of your community where you're able to truly contribute and it be, in a way that's going to have a huge impact versus like minor contributions where it's like, oh, it has little impact, but your major impact is going to come once you know who you are and what you should be doing. So I think that that's the biggest thing is figure out who you are as a person, as a woman, and what gifting you have, where can you contribute to your community, and then work from there.
Right. Wonderful. It says self-love is a priority and should be high on your list. That is definitely important. Like you guys said, you can't give what you don't have.
Yeah.
So, you definitely have to make sure that you equip yourself first before you charge into war trying to save somebody. You got to make sure, that you have equipped yourself. So, I'll say for me, as it pertains to community, like the best gift I can give to anybody is just authenticity. I'm not trying to be anything extra. I'm not trying to be anything less. Like if I have to diminish myself to be in your presence, I'm not gonna be. If I have to, if I have to try too hard to be in your presence, I'm not gonna be. It's kind of like this is what you get. And so, like, I feel like that's the greatest gift I can offer to my community is authenticity. And of course, sometimes just a kind word, smiling at somebody. I mean, I guess now we ain't really smiling too much with the mask. You look a little crazy doing this, people with big eyes.
I just do a head nod, like just kind of like the acknowledging nod, like.
I think definitely, communicating with people and being kind has gotten a little more difficult through this pandemic because you don't want to be too close. I ain't taking off my mask. It's more like, but it's always kind to be kind. So I think, those things, little things we can do in our community, and your community is where you are. That encompasses your community. If where you are is if you're a mother with kids and that's then your community is gonna look like you. So find your space, and like they were saying, knowing your gift when you're in the right space, in the right community, connected to the right people, is kind of like all that stuff kind of falls into place. You find your space, you find your own lane, you find when you're needed, because there is a community that needs you. There is somewhere that needs your gift, that needs your humor, needs your smile, needs your hands, your heart. There is some place longing for you, and you are longing for a place too, whether you acknowledge it or not. There are parts of you that is longing to belong to something. So find your place. Find your place and exude that strength and that wonder that makes us or makes you a woman. There's nothing more beautiful than being a woman. We are at the center of creation.
Yeah.
We create our environments, we create families. We take a little bit and we multiply it. That is, nurturing. Those are all parts of being a woman. You have it in there. We all possess it. It was how women were created. So tap into that strength, tap into the wonder, and be the best woman you know how to be. And if you have no idea, find a woman that can give you some pointers. There's some everywhere. You may not see them. There's some in some books. There's some online. There's some at the store. You run into one that could be a great model for you. So look for somebody that can help you find your treasures. So, as always, guys, stay safe, stay warm because it's getting kind of cold. Stay warm and don't do too much shopping. Until next week, we'll see you guys then.